right, Antonieta, let's do it. So welcome everybody to the Bookstore Live interviews. We're starting off here with Antonieta Contreras. Her book is Traumatization and Its Aftermath, which I have right here, and which we'll have linked up. That's not doing a good job. I don't know if you can do a better one. But so Antonieta, give our viewers and listeners just a kind of a snapshot, a brief introduction to you, and then let's dive into the book.
Hello, and congratulations to all the amazing work that you do for us.
Oh, appreciate that.
So I'm a social worker. I used to be a mathematician, a banker, and a consultant, and then I completely changed to help people after I became a Buddhist. So it was my mission now to really try to help people get out of the life is suffering, right? Because Buddha said life is suffering, but then he said suffering is grasping at certain things, and we can get out of there. So that has been my motivation to do what I do now, and that was one of the motivations to write the book. And the book is to not grasping at labels, for example, at the idea that we are damaged, and it's sometimes the idea or the relationship that we develop is more hurtful than what we actually experienced. So I wrote the book with that type of mentality. The summary of the book, let's say, well, I discovered with all the years of teaching and reading and learning about trauma that trauma was very hard to define because it is a whole phenomena and it's not one thing. So I saw that the definitions varied according to the perspective that they were talking about, but the word trauma is used for so many different things. So I wanted to cover all the elements that are part of the phenomena.
Okay. Let me just direct this a little bit. So who's the book for?
Well, mainly, should I say mainly? I don't think it's mainly. It's both for clinicians that are learning and we keep learning about trauma every day because there is something new, right? And people that are traumatized or think they are traumatized or know somebody that suffer from a traumatic event or are into that, they have so many questions. So the book is also for them. People are always reading about things and they find this different information that sometimes contradicts each other.
Mm-hmm.
So the book is for everybody that wants to understand deeply the neurobiology of trauma and the manifestations of it.
One of the things that strikes me about the book is how comprehensive it is.
Thank you.
You know, you've got these, 9 chapters, many chapters, and you talk about different aspects of our being that is affected by trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about, I think they're like domains, you call them?
Yes.
Okay. Share a little bit about that because I think that's really, really interesting.
Wonderful. Thank you for that question because, yes, I was very interested in presenting the humanness, how the characteristics of being humans from the natural to the pathological. So the domains are all the things that can be altered by a traumatic experience through the process of traumatization, which is the struggle for safety or the survival circuits that get activated that can last during just the time of the event or can last for years and years after the event is over because we carry it with us that mental struggle, right? So as we struggle mentally, our system keeps making changes, trying to keep us alive, right? Because the brain doesn't understand whether we are exaggerating or not. If we feel unsafe, the brain
Mm-hmm.
puts the survival circuits to operate. So during that phase, the struggle for survival, there are many alterations to all the system because everything is connected. And I separated in 9 domains, which is from dissociation to regulation, emotions, cognition, personality, identity, like all the components that can be altered by this struggle, by the activation of the survival circuits. But I wanted to make an emphasis that they are all natural manifestations, like, for example, dissociation, that goes from the regular, like we all dissociate at some point, instead of thinking that dissociation is like a bad word and a curse, and now
Mm-hmm.
you are doomed, right? So I present the domains from what is natural and human and expected, right? The fight or flight will is expected in every single one of us, to the dysfunction or pathology of those manifestations, of those elements that get altered, right? Like brain development, how it develops, like regularly, and what could happen if the development is interrupted or arrested or disturbed by the brain occupying more energy of its budget in being afraid or being alert or being prepared for the worst instead of growing,
Mm-hmm.
right? So all the mhm,
So let me ask you, you said there are 9 domains.
mhm.
Not all of them are going to be impacted, correct? I mean,
No,
it's an
no,
individual experience, right?
yes,
How, okay.
experience. Mhm.
So what are some, give me an example of how maybe one of those domains might continue to be impacted or might be impacted in on long term if someone's being has experienced trauma.
So an example is, for instance, emotions. Let's just start with emotion. Each one I could talk each one, but emotions are like the newest theories of emotion, because there are enough theories, but the newest, which I kind of agree with, have to do with the anticipation of things that occur, right? So we create our emotions according to the experiences that we have in life, and they can continue developing these scripts of what an emotion is. So, for example, somebody believes that they have trauma, they read the description, and this veteran, for instance, um, goes under the desk every time they hear a sound. So maybe the script of this person that feels that they is traumatized is, oh, I have to run and hide under the desk, for instance, right? That has
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with what they want to do, is an influenced, but the emotion keeps modifying according to these scripts that we accumulate, or people that are have that experience is ashamed, and now they want to hide, and then like the scripts of what it means to be ashamed keeps growing to the negative, right? Like oh, I'm hideous, I should not
Mm-hmm.
be alive, or like those the mind and the brain combined can make this energy, the emotions are stored as energies, right? They have a balance, they have a charge, and they can continue growing as we feel more insecure, unsafe, rejected, out of, like, off, right, out of the norm. Or
Mm-hmm.
so those, in terms of emotions, somebody can develop the script of aggression, from anger to aggression, and become violent, and lose complete control over the reactions, because the script is gets automatically programmed in the brain to act on that script, for example.
And so, I'm a lot of people watching this obviously are therapists of all different types. So in this book, for example, do you talk about how that might be diagnosed and then treated? How someone might be able to, diagnose if a client is experiencing that charge in that emotion, an example, and identifying that, and then going on to treat that?
So the first part of the book, there are three parts, right? Talks about this spectrum of each of these domains, from normal to not normal. The second is a way to present all the syndromes that can evolve or unfold from the alterations, from
Mm-hmm.
the length and intensity of the traumatization, right? That doesn't depend necessarily only on the event, but also on the mind, right? And the relationship that we develop with what happened to us. And the third part talks about how to use the mind in order to overcome the neurobiology that was altered and was the one that is making us feel as terrible as we feel when we are traumatized, right? So the first are more objective. It's object. Every part tells us the qualities or characteristics that we already have wired in our system that can help us get out of the traumatization phase and start resolving and healing, right? Every single one, because the characteristics of the brain, if I explain you that it's anticipatory, I explain objectively what that means, and then how we could use it
Mm-hmm.
to start, for example, imagining a safe life and start feeling and moving in that direction to resolve it. So, yeah, through the book, there are a lot of hints on how to use our mind to heal our body, because the trauma is a problem in the nervous system, and we can intervene to stop it to from
Mm-hmm.
continue like running on its own. The autonomic
Mm-hmm.
nervous system gets automatically damaging, and we can stop it if we know that what the brain is doing.
Now, that to me sounds, I mean, as we're kind of wrapping up here, but that to me sounds, do we need help? Like, as for a therapist to help us do that? I mean, how easy is it for us, if we're traumatized, to use our own mind to help heal our body?
Well, it's much better to find somebody that tells you and guides you every week, and with exercises and homework and psychoeducation, and like yes, to heal requires a lot of understanding of the case that you have in front of you, right? It's much more difficult
Sure.
to see yourself and see your struggles. Is much easier when somebody notices them, right? They are not on the stage, they are just looking at you, being there, acting your role, because when you are traumatized, you act a role. So, yes, it's much easier. But if the clinician shares the book with the client and the client reads it and understands it, well, then that helps them both
Hmm.
to move along faster.
So just to be clear, again, we're talking with Antonieta Contreras. The book is, I don't know if I get this book. Here we go. Traumatization and Its Aftermath. We'll have that linked up here at the traumatherapistbookstore.com. So for therapists, for clinicians, but also for a lay audience, for survivors as well.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Um, Antonieta, how do people get in contact with you? What's the best way?
My website, antonietacontreras.com.
Okay.
It's easy.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, or any social media. If you type my name, you will find my links.
Okay, awesome. Antonieta, awesome, exciting. This book is, like I said at the beginning here, very comprehensive and highly recommended for therapists of all types. Thank you so much for joining us.
So much, okay.
All right, take care. Bye bye.